I wanted to take a moment and say thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad Reverend Jill is getting a day off. And I am very, very glad to be here. As you heard, my name is Reverend Karin. And today is the very first day that I can say that without starting to cry, because, you know, it's pretty new. I just became a reverend on the 8th of August, like almost a month ago. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you. Thank you. So it is a wonderful, wonderful path that this teaching, that this way of living offers us to go through the process. So I'm excited that Lori is on the path. And before I start with my talk today, I also want to take a moment and acknowledge Joe Hammer. Your kindness has really touched me this weekend, so thank you. Yes. You know, it's one of those moments when we sent the slides that were supposed to go to him on Friday, Saturday, around noon, you know. And then this morning I had this idea, and I said, can we do this? And he said yes, and so very grateful, very grateful. So, Scottsdale Center for Spiritual Living is at a very, very exciting time in the life of this center, because you have just gone through a co-creation process where you met representatives of this community, met with Dr. Kathy Hearn, and entered into a very long and deep process of connecting with the intentions of this center. You know, every center has a specific culture, a specific tapestry, something one can feel. I have been traveling a lot through different centers. Every time when Warner and I travel and we are in an area where there's a center on a Sunday morning, we go in, and you can feel the difference in a center. Sometimes the quality of joy is more present, and sometimes the quality of really spiritual depth, or tight connections, or openness, different qualities you can pick out. So I am so excited that this center is taking the time and taking the resources to really take a look at who are we in the world, who are we in this overall movement that has over 400 centers worldwide. What is the particular culture, the particular tapestry that is woven here? And so this whole month you will hear about intentions, how intentions are being walked out. You know, it's one thing to set an intention, and then it's another how to walk it out as a community. And I'm going to give something away. I didn't clear this with Reverend Jill, but what we have found out, that if a center anchors into an intention, it takes each and every person to walk out that intention in their own life. Because all that these centers are, that we are so grateful for, a place to come together on a Sunday morning, they are all made up of the people that are in it. It is not the minister. It is all of the people, all of the qualities, all of the effort, all of the love that each and every one brings to this beloved center, that makes up that tapestry. So you're at a very, very exciting point. My talk today is entitled The Law of Reflection. And what that points to is that we have our intentions, we have our desires, we have our inklings of creating something in the world. And what we teach here at the Science of Mind, that whatever is reflected back to us as life has something to do with what we put out there. I'm German, you might have heard that by now. I do have an accent. So I want to share a German saying with you. And it goes like this. Wie wir in den Wald hineinraufen, so ruft es zurück. As we call out into the woods, it echoes back to us. I'm sure in English we have something similar. No, maybe not with woods, but is that what you say too? I love this. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Reverend Craig. And so I find that interesting to look at. And I invite us all to listen to what the founder of our teaching, Dr. Ernest Holmes, has to say about it. And that is what I asked Joe this morning, if he could please play this video. Now, before we play it, I want to prepare us. Dr. Ernest Holmes had a radio show for many, many years in the 50s, in the 40s and 50s, and there's only one recording, a video recording of one of those shows. And we're just going to watch a few seconds of it, but prepare yourself that the quality is not what we are used to now. But I find it so inspiring to hear his voice. So let us see if we can watch it. And I love that. He said, what do you suppose the greatest teacher who ever walked the earth talked about? And then it fades out. So it leaves us with that question. He says there's a power in the universe greater than I am, greater than you are, and we can use it. We can use this power for good. How do we do that? How do we do that? It has something to do with this law of reflection. As we approach our life, life approaches us back. As we call it out into the woods, it comes back out. Emerson says, life is the mirror for slaves and kings. It is the mirror for slaves and kings. So now, if we think about it, if you think about our teaching symbol, the big circle with a V, yes, I like to do that. And ooh, look at my shoulder. I have a little shoulder injury, but yay, I can do it. So what we say in this teaching is that on the highest realm, there's infinite potentiality, all good, love, peace, kindness, beauty, joy, power, pure potentiality, God, everywhere present. And then in the middle realm is what we call the law. And that is the area where we have our being in. And so if we come to life wanting to experience more beauty, and we claim that, it has to make its way through the creative process, through the law. If we are in alignment with the power for good that is everywhere present and that we can use, the beauty just manifests through us. That is, I'm sure you have heard this, where we say if you put a cauliflower seed into the soil, chances are you're going to harvest cauliflower and not broccoli. Right? Yes. Thomas Troward, the English judge, gave us that beautiful analysis of seed, soil, plant. Yes. And it's usually about this time that people say, how do you explain things not working that way? I thought I went to life and said I would like to meet Prince Charming, have the parking spot, get the bigger purse, whatever it is, you know, the 3 Ps. And it's not happening in my life. You see, that is where this law of reflection comes in. Because this teaching says, and I believe it with all my heart, that there is a power for good in the universe that is greater than I am, that is greater than we are. And if it does not manifest the way that I intended it to manifest, where do I have to look? Yeah, I see people doing this exactly. I have to take a look at myself. I have to take a look at if there might be a belief that is deeper that I haven't quite cleaned out yet, cleared out, pulled up, the weed. Sometimes we talk about it as there's a weed in our garden, a belief that doesn't serve us anymore. It might be, I am not good enough, I'm not tall enough, young enough, blonde enough, dark enough, whatever, some sort of not enough. So let us take a breath. And maybe exhale. Yeah. Because this is exactly the moment where people make a decision in their mind when they hear this about this teaching. The science of mind is a teaching that asks us to take ownership, to take responsibility, to recognize that everything that is happening in our lives has some correspondence within me. There's no blaming in this teaching. And there's usually two ways people react to that. One is, oh, I know that. I've heard that. I know you had some great speakers here. This is probably not news to you. But that little, oh, I know that, can you feel how it pushes away from really allowing it to do its work in us? So that is one way of reacting to it. And the other one is, she clearly doesn't know what's going on in my life. Yeah. Yeah. And it is a challenging proposition that this teaching brings forth, because we do not have the God in the sky out there where we can say, well, it was God's wish. We don't have that. In this teaching, we say there's a power for good greater than we are, and we can use it. And so we look at, how can I use it better? How can I make it work better in my life? And that is where the spiritual practice of intentions comes in. Wayne Dyer wrote this book in 2004 that is the book of the month here. It's The Power of Intention, and I love the subtitle, Learning to Co-Create Your World Your Way. No wonder he sold millions. I mean, right? Learning to create your world your way. It's fabulous. It's really good. And he walks through in this book through the 7 phases of intention. But before we look at the 7 phases, let's take a look at this quote. Wayne Dyer says, clinging to attempts to think or reason your way to intention is futile. By banishing doubt and trusting your intuition, you clear a space for the power of intention to flow through you. That is what I was pointing to. When we are so filled up with our ideas of how this works, intentions have a harder time to get a hold of us, to really move us, to align us to this power of good. That is why we advocate daily spiritual practice of meditation and prayer. Because it's really the time to empty out. I love what practitioner Suzanne said in the pre-service meditation. She invited us to be friendly with ourselves. Ah, isn't that fabulous? If we could remind ourselves to be friendly with ourselves, that is what meditation does. It helps us to anchor into that space. Now, I have asked people who play music instruments, is it better to practice 10 minutes a day or once a week for an hour? And the answer is, Reverend Craig? All the time. All the time. Yes. Practice, practice, practice. Yes. People who work out say it is more effective to go more regularly than to go once on a Tuesday, work out for 2 hours and say, "What's this? I worked out. What's happening?" That one time. That is why this teaching advocates daily spiritual practice. And I see nods. Yes, yes. So my intention for today, this morning, I set an intention every day. So this morning my intention was to inspire individuals, you all here, to contemplate entering into an agreement for daily spiritual practice. With yourself, with someone, with a teacher, with someone who's offering a program. There are apps, they're all different ways. And I will come back to that. But let us take a look at the 7 phases of intentions that Dr. Wayne Dyer talks about. And I like to think about these as ways to align ourselves. Because we all have desires. We all have a desire. As a matter of fact, let's take a moment and just connect easily with an intention, a desire you have. Let's do it just for today. What's your intention for this day? It might be to connect with new people. It might be to receive and feel filled up by whatever comes your way. It might be to feel joy. Whatever the intention is, I just invite you to hold on to it as we go through these 7 phases of intention. And the first part that we look at is creativity. The universe, people say the currency of the universe are ideas. Ideas are everywhere, everywhere, all of the time. And we can tell if we are in alignment with the power that is greater than we are, if ideas flow easily and effortlessly to us, through us. And this is not just, creativity is not just for people who are gifted in paintings or creating jewelry or something like that, although that is very nice when you guys do that. But it's also the creativity that maybe a businessman has to have a business idea or a way to make a home more comfortable. So we can always tell, how is my alignment when we take a look at how is creativity flowing through us? And the second part that Dr. Wayne Dyer looks at is kindness. We all have probably heard that when we extend kindness to someone, serotonin is being released in our brain. And we might also have heard that when someone receives kindness, a kind smile, a warm hug, kindness, that serotonin is released in the person who's receiving the kindness as well. But did you know that even if one observes kindness between 2 individuals, that it releases serotonin in the brain of the observer? I find that fascinating. Fascinating. So let us look for kindness. Let us notice kindness in the world, wherever we can do it. Facebook is a great place for that. All those kitties and everything, yes. Great. And then it takes us to love. Love really means what Suzanne was talking about, the lack of judgment. The lack of judgment to ourselves, most importantly to another. Just looking at the world through love. The Dalai Lama says, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion, a kind of love. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Love that. How else can we feel if we are in alignment with this power that is greater than we are? We can take a look at beauty. We learn to appreciate the beauty of everything around us. Everything. Look for the beauty and you shall find it. Expansion. Don't set limits to yourself. Instead, learn to listen to your intuition. Intuition is really inspired. Being inspired by the divine. And to give this expansion. Give the possibility of having that power expand in our lives. Two more. Unlimited abundance. Dr. Wayne Dyer says, realizing your unlimited abundance means facing down your fears and limitations. That's what I was talking about earlier. We declare there's a power for good. When it is not showing up in our lives the way we expect it, it has to do with fears that we are still holding on to, limiting beliefs that get in the way. And then the final one is receptivity. Being open, receiving, saying yes to the power. So what do we do with all of that? What do we do with all of that? We apply it daily to our desires, to our intentions. If our intention is to reach out and inspire people to live a life that serves them better, I can go through these 7 phases and ask myself, where am I not in alignment? Where do I let my fears get in the way? Where maybe I do not look out into the world with loving, kind eyes and compassion and understanding? And where do I do that to myself? So the offering, should you accept, is to really ask yourself, am I in a place in my life where I have an area that I want to have a different experience? Maybe my relationship with the divine, my relationship with another, my relationship with financial resources, my relationship with my body. Whichever, whatever it is. Do I believe that I have the power to change? And if so, am I willing to enter into an agreement for a daily spiritual practice? That is the question that everybody has to answer for themselves. Yes. And so we enter into that power that is greater than we are through prayer. So please join me. We just take a breath. Allow all of the words to find its rightful place. As we open up to the power that is greater than we are. We call it love, we call it life, peace, joy, abundance, prosperity, first cause, the infinite universe, sweet spirit. Whatever words work for us, we just turn within to that which we have experienced as loving kindness, as the ever gracious givingness, as the eternal goodness, as life. And we place ourselves consciously in that presence. We just say yes. It is all around us, in us, through us. It is at the very center of myself. It is at the very center of every person. We say yes to it. And it is from this place that we lean into our desires. The desires of the heart, its purity. The desire to experience more. The desire to release an old burden. The desire for beauty, for love, for a beloved. And we make space within us, emptying out, listening to the inspired action that is called. We recognize that sweet spirit had always had its way with us. For it is in, through, and as us. It is the very core of who we are. So from this place of deep knowingness, we just bless ourselves, our experiences, our world. Let me be an instrument for peace on earth. And with an overflowing heart, and so much gratitude for all the good, I simply place this word into universal law, the law that always says yes. I call it good and very good. And so it is.